it's very difficult to actually even hold the club correctly. You know, there's a certain way of holding the golf club that makes the ball go straight. And beginners, you can show them 100 times how to hold it in the first 2 or 3 weeks, but by the 4th week, it's gone somewhere else.
Hey Zouk family, welcome back. We are here in Awana once again, and what a beautiful day it is on this Awana golf course. And his interview was so popular the first time round, we've asked him to come back on a more regular basis. Russel, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
It's great to chat to you again. I've been out and played a few rounds with you recently, and we've had exceptional weather, and the course is looking absolutely beautiful. So
never been lucky, huh?
Long may it continue. So Russel, let's touch on a few different things today, if you don't mind.
Okay.
I'd love to chat a bit more about your history in golf. It was fascinating last time. I really enjoyed talking to you about it. And then maybe some tips that you can share for people who might be interested in taking up golf or even playing golf at the moment.
All right.
So we touched on last time, you've traveled a lot. Now you've been in Malaysia now for a decade, but you spent a lot of time in Germany as well, and you played with some very famous German footballers over the years.
Yes, God blimey. That was a long time ago, but back then, the captain of the German football team, his name was Lothar Matthäus. It's quite a world famous football player. And another guy before I was in Germany, I was actually in Kitzbühel in Austria, and I played a lot with Franz Beckenbauer.
Wow, two of the most famous of all time.
I used to teach him a lot. Yeah, Franz was a golf fanatic, probably still is. Lothar Matthäus was sort of a beginner, but enjoyed it. But when the football team came near Munich, then they always came over and played. So they were there quite a bit.
What about Jürgen Klinsmann?
Yeah, he was good. Yeah, Jürgen, he played a lot, and I don't have much stories to tell about them, but they were there all the time, and played a few times with them, and good fun. Had a lot of nice dinners with them.
This week, the LA Dodgers just won the championship in the baseball.
Baseball, yeah.
Also, the LA Lakers have won the championship in the basketball. You've played with some basketball and some baseball players in your time as well.
Well, yeah, I've met a lot. I've played with Bill Russell, who was, I had no idea who he was. I didn't know anything about basketball or baseball coming from the UK when I first got to America. But the first time I ever played in America, I ended up playing with Bill Russell. They put me in a group with Bill Russell. And it turned out he was a huge guy. So I figured he was probably a basketball player, and it was. And turns out he was really good. Years and years ago. He was quite funny.
Hall of Famer.
Hall of Famer. And then, other guys I've met, like Michael. I've met Michael Jordan and Charles Barkley in the celebrity golf tournament up in Lake Tahoe when I went with a baseball player.
I mean, Michael Jordan's infamous as being a very good golfer, very competitive as well.
Gambles a lot.
Gambles a lot, wins on the holes. Charles Barkley is quite a considerably good player, but has a bit of a bizarre swing.
Yeah, Charles, I think years ago when he first started was very good, and then developed this funny twitch in his swing, and now he's like every other player, I guess. He's struggling, to say the least.
So that's fantastic, and you've mentored some great young players, including a couple you were showing me on television the other day, Malaysian young players. There's a phenomenal female player and a phenomenal male player you were
Well,
describing.
yeah, before I came here, I had a golf management company. We were trying to assist and help all the young Malaysian players, because I noticed when I first came over there were a lot of great amateur players, but there was no structure for the golf professional once they turned pro. So we set up a golf management company trying to assist these players, and it did good. We had a couple of first place finishes on the thing called the ADT Tour. Kenneth De Silva, who was a very talented player, he won two of those, and then Gavin Kyle Green was supposed to come to us, but he ended up going to. We had a sort of a contract signed with him, but he was in New Mexico State. He was still studying, but actually when he came out of studying, he got signed up by I think Tiger Woods' group. So, and then we had and then Kelly Tan for a while, and she's doing very well on the LPGA tour now. So, yeah, we did a lot of good things, and I think there's a lot more good things to come.
Do you see a lot of talent coming out of Southeast Asia?
Oh yeah, especially out of China. China's really going to be a big boom there, I think, because there's so many players, right? so many people, and they're very dedicated. I mean, they train like crazy.
Let me ask you a couple of questions about current players. We play a lot. We're fortunate enough to play this course. What are the major differences in preparation between female players and male players? We play with Alicia, who does all of our yoga videos. She's an incredibly good straight shooter.
Yeah.
What's your words of advice for female players who are looking to take up the game of golf?
Well, I think female and male. It's very important to take lessons with your local PGA pro and get the fundamentals down first. It doesn't matter in the first 6 months whether you're very good or not. It's all a question of whether you've learnt the basics. And what usually happens is, what I found is that the guys obviously have more ball feeling because they've played with balls all their life and played soccer. They've thrown a ball and done all these sorts of things. Ladies usually haven't. But usually the ladies learn the swing better because they have to learn the technique. After 3 or 4 hours, a guy will probably stand there and try and hit his wood, try and hit a long shot because his ego's there, and then they do it with their own technique. So they lose the benefits of the lesson. It's very difficult to actually even hold the club correctly. There's a certain way of holding the golf club that makes the ball go straight. And beginners, you can show them 100 times how to hold it in the first 2 or 3 weeks, but by the 4th week, it's gone somewhere else. So there's constant monitoring needs to be done in the first 2 or 3 years, right? It doesn't just happen that you take 5 lessons and then you're off. No. I mean, when I worked in Germany, I'd have the same people every week for years, just to monitor the grip and the stance and the basic fundamentals to make sure they continue to improve. Because in my opinion, you only improve if your fundamentals are correct. I mean, I can see a player from, a player playing off the first tee, I can probably tell you his handicap before he's even hit the ball. Just how he stands and how he holds the club. It's that important, right? So obviously when you play by yourself, or you practice, you start to get into bad habits. Maybe you're aiming wrong, or your head's in the wrong place, or you're too close, or you're too far away. These things you can't see yourself, and that's when all the trouble starts. Sure. Right? So having lessons is very good. I'd recommend it to everybody at least maybe once every month, every 2 months. Checkup. It's like a checkup. Golf pros do it all the time. Most of the caddies now on the course, they're all professionals. They're all teaching the guys. They see them play. They know exactly what to tell them. So it's very, very important.
Today you wanted to specifically focus on a couple of things that you say are reoccurring issues. Overswinging is a prominent
Yeah. He overswung. Now he's getting much better, but
I'm guilty of such a thing.
Yeah, I don't normally give away secrets too much, but I'm going to share this one because it's very. I heard this from when I was living in Palm Springs. One of my assistants came out of Texas, Fort Worth, Texas, and his dad knew Ben Hogan very well. So Ben Hogan had the secret of how to swing shorter, and I've never really heard it publicized very much. So this is actually a very, very good bit of advice. You'll see people over swinging, and then they swing shorter, but then there's no real, people don't know how to do it, right? There's certain ways. I've heard people say keep your right elbow more extended, push with your right hand against the club, which sort of works too, but this one I think is the best. So normally when you swing too far back, there's always a little bit of a collapsing of your arms and your wrists, and there's no real control, right? So what a guy told me once, what this guy said, and it's very, very simple. He said your left thumb is like a third eye, right? And what happens is, if you start the swing from here and you let the club naturally swing back and you cock your left wrist, you'll hit your left thumb. The shaft will hit the thumb early. And he said that's the end of the backswing, right? It feels very short, but that's it right there. It can't go any further because the thumb is stopping it. That's the signal to go forwards. So that's a very good way of doing it, and it's not really talked about, or I never see it in the magazines. But if you think about the great players, someone like, I think Olazabal had a thumb injury, Lee Trevino had a thumb injury. That's because they were always just hitting it. And this is, they call it your third eye, because that tells you now it's the time to go and hit it, which I thought was a great bit of advice. And I hope it helps you.
Because predominantly men like myself will overswing, because your brain says the further you swing, the further the ball will go. So that's a fantastic piece of advice, because you actually taught me that you can do a quarter swing or even a three-quarter swing, and you can get it further because the discipline is there, the shot goes straight, you focus on the basic, instead of just, if I hit it as hard as I physically can, it can go anywhere, and sometimes it doesn't even go so far.
Well, most people concentrate on the backswing and not the follow-through. I mean, Ben Hogan again used to say the best swing in golf is a quarter backswing and a three-quarter follow-through. So his focus was going through the ball and finishing. That's where the mistake is by 99% of all players. It's all backswing and nothing on the through swing. So that's it.
Mastering the basics and also getting touch-ups and lessons, because it's very difficult to teach ourselves. But I do want to touch on one thing. When you were a youngster, you actually taught yourself through books, correct? There was no YouTube.
Yeah, well, I was, I'm talking a long time ago. But yeah, it was trial and error back then, And I learned at the time of someone like Jack Nicklaus or Tom Watson, and they had this big higher hand position and a massive lateral slide, which was great for guys that are 5'7" or 5'6", but for a guy like me, couldn't see the golf course, hit it everywhere.
So before we relocate, I definitely want to ask you about some of the tournaments you featured in over the years, and one specifically, which was the last outing that Frank Sinatra ever sung at.
Oh yes, that was great. I was lucky enough, I met a lady in Palm Springs, and she played in the Frank Sinatra Celebrity Classic, which was an invitational tournament for all these celebrities in LA to come and play in Frank Sinatra's tournament. So she invited me 3 years in a row to play in it, which was great fun. Everybody you can think of was there. I remember the third and final time we played at the prize giving. You can imagine a room with maybe 700-800 people in, security all the way around the outside, and then on the center table there were two tables together, two round tables. You had Frank Sinatra, Bob Hope, and all these big people. Robert Wagner, I think, was one, and then some of their family members. Well, we had a table on the outside somewhere, and I remember this girl. We were waiting, and they double booked our table. Well, that didn't go very well with the lady that. So Nancy Sinatra came past, and she shouted at her and said, "Hey, where's our table?" Right? So immediately they took us and put us on the center table, which was just like kind of amazing. Huh? You got looking at Bob Hope, Frank Sinatra, and all these types of people. And then actually Willie Nelson got up and did a few songs, and then Frank Sinatra actually went up and did 3 songs. And from what I know is that it was the last time he ever sung in public.
How old was he at that point?
He must have been 80 something.
What was he like?
Bob Hope was 92 or something.
What was Frank Sinatra like?
Well, I mean, at that time, he wasn't great, but he got up and sung fantastic. They said he stopped singing because he couldn't read his words anymore. And Bob Hope could barely walk, but he was there.
Phenomenal. Good memories.
Yeah, it was good fun. Used to see Bob Hope. Bob Hope, a lot of people don't know this, but Bob Hope used to walk around the Palm Springs airport at like 4 o'clock in the morning every day. Quiet, nobody around, not too hot. So if you ever wanted to see Bob Hope back then, that's where you could catch him.
I'm waiting for Russell to release a book. He's got so many fantastic stories that it's been phenomenal. But we want to catch up with you a lot more, Russell. We want to do a weekly podcast, just chat to you, pick up some snippets of the generous secrets you've been giving us, but also learn about your history and your travels, because it's phenomenal to find out what an exemplary career you've had. So thanks for sharing.
Thank you very much.
I love talking to him. But Zouk Family, take a word of advice from him, reach out, get some lessons, and learn this great game. I'm ridiculous. I've lived here for 3 years. I only just took it up this year, but thanks to this man, I thoroughly enjoy my off days and playing this beautiful course. See, the weather is gorgeous. It's very well irrigated. When the ball bounces, it runs for miles, which also helps you keep your score down.
Correct.
And we look forward to catching up with Russell next week.